Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today we are solving yet another puzzle. And today's puzzle is the Hanayama Duet puzzle. Now the Duet is a level 5 out of a possible 6 on the Hanayama difficulty scale, which essentially means that today is going to be very challenging. Although the variance of some of the level 5s that we've done previously is huge. We've got level 5s on the top row of our hardest to easiest going this way difficulty leaderboard, but we've also got a level 5 on the bottom row in the spiral puzzle down here. But we'll always assume going into a level 5 that it will be extremely difficult, and yeah, this could take a couple of hours. So as usual, we're going to do exactly the same 3 things as we always do. We're going to separate the puzzle, then we're going to reassemble the puzzle. That's the challenge with with most Hanayama puzzles. And then once we've done that, we will then place it on our leaderboard. Hardest puzzle up here, easiest puzzle down here, and everything in between. Let's get straight into it. Okay, so here is the Duet puzzle. And first thing I have noticed from looking at the box is, now obviously we need to separate this from this, but when we look at the box, there is 2 rings there. So this here, which as I look at it now, there's 2 rings. It's split. Okay. It's magnetic, I think. So now that we know that, probably going to be a lot easier to separate these 2 rings from this. And similar to what we did recently with like the ABC puzzle and the box puzzle actually, is that you can see on these rings there's a little notch which conveniently fits over these things in here, which is good. So how do we approach this one? Do we try and solve or separate one at a time? I mean, on the previous ABC puzzle, I made the mistake of thinking that it's separated by sliding off. Like here, you should be able to see like the gaps in around the squares. There's only 2 on this top side that lead off the puzzle. I mistakenly, for the ABC puzzle, I mistakenly thought that that meant that the puzzle separated off those things when it actually didn't. But looking at this and looking at the size of the squares, or the size of the thickness in all these axes of the squares, I don't think we're going to separate through the middle. I think we are genuinely going to have to come off one of these things in here. So from this top view we can slide that one over there, but then we can't go anywhere else. There's gaps in there, but we don't have the space to get to there. So we may have to come somewhere like this. So if we flip it around to this, we'll use this side to start with. So we've come over there. And now we've got a little bit of variety in where we can go. This is going to be quite interesting because, like, obviously it's quite easy to know where we've started because we end up in this corner that hasn't got 4 straight right angle edges. So what we're going to have to do is I think we'll do it one at a time. I don't think it's going to affect. Like, I don't think we'll need to get one to a certain position and then get one to another position and then we can separate the first one. I think we will be able to do it literally one by one. Yeah, so for instance here we can sort of, to move around, and this isn't in the way, we can go into here and into here, and then for instance we can then flip it around and use the other side of the maze thing to then make a move there. We can't do it in this position, but it is going to be a combination of swapping between the sides, I think. That one's just snuck out there. So we need to remember which side is which. And yeah, let's just focus on one for now. So we'll leave that one in there and we'll focus on this one. And on this side, there's a lot of different exit points. Now I think that this one is going to separate out of one of these two. So we need to maneuver our way around down to one of these two squares, I think. It's hard to keep track of. Right, so it's these two squares from this orientation. It's quite hard to keep track of where you've been because of the how many times you sort of flip in from one side to the other. And it seems like I'm just going backwards and forwards through the same positions as well, or to the same places. Now see, here's somewhere I've not been there before. I've not come all the way around there. That is new and probably good. This is tough. And the thing is, like, I'd like to sort of approach it by going, right, I know it separates from here or from X position, whichever it is. It may not be these two positions or one of these two positions. But the fact that I don't know where it definitely comes off means that I can't work backwards either and go, right, well, if it comes off here, then I need to go from here to here to here to here, etc. But I can't do that because I don't know where it separates. I'm also tempted to swap rings and go with the other one for a little bit, but I think I'm gonna stick it out with this one. I'm not sure how you differentiate between the two either. I feel like they might be exactly the same. It's just the difference would be in how they're put together. Yeah, they are exactly the same piece. It's just obviously getting it to a point where they end up opposite each other. So they will take different tracks. So putting it together, I need to make sure that we don't end up putting them both back on in the same way. Hey, so there we go with one of them. So the key move then, I think was, right, don't worry about it yet. We've separated one piece, but the key move was sort of coming off on one part. We did get down to here at some point, which I thought was where they were going to separate it, but we actually came off that one there. Or we could also go on there, but I need to remember that with the Hanayama side, the first one goes on in that top right hand corner. Well, if this bit is here. So we come off there on the Hanayama side. Now to focus on the second piece, the other bit. So to get from that original position to here, there was only one route through, which is interesting. Here we now have options, so we've come through there. Or maybe we don't have options. We can still only just go through there. Maybe not. Ignore me. There must be other ways. Oh, actually no. It's because we can then continue through to there. Completely lost my orientation again with this bit now. But we have brought it to this same place, which probably means that we can take it off in the same way that we took the other one off. I'm not 100% sure how we did that. Here we are. So yeah, that came off in exactly the same place. And now you can see that these two pieces are exactly the same. But what's going to be interesting is getting them back into here in a different way so that they fit together in that ring position. But that's the first part of the duet puzzle done. We have disassembled it. Now it's time to reassemble it back into that position down here. So we know that they both came off this corner here. Whether that is the only way that it can come off, I do not know. But I think this putting it back together is going to be a little bit more difficult than taking it apart was. I think we're going to go with the approach of get one bit in as well, however we find the way in. And then do the same with the other bit, and if it doesn't match up, then we'll come out with that and then try and match them up that way. Whether it will be successful or not will be interesting to see. Right, so we got one back in. Now let's get the other one in and cross our fingers that we come in a different way so that they are facing each other and they can reconnect as that complete sort of circle donut position. Hey, there we go. Now, I have a feeling definitely came in or came back in different ways. Some of it might have been a conscious effort of coming in a different direction, but I think I've been a little bit lucky there in sort of getting those two different routes back in. But I'm very happy with that. It took about 20 or just over 20 minutes to separate them, and it took what? 5 or 6 minutes to take it apart. I'm very happy with that. Very happy. I think when it comes to actually figuring the best route through this one, I think we're going to find that we weren't far off with this one. There's a lot of positions where, like, there's only one route. There's only one way through it, and then you flip it over. There's only one way you sort of get to a dead end. And each time you get to a dead end, you just flip it over, and there's only then one way to progress from the other side, which makes it a little bit easier. But I think there's a few sort of crossroads positions, like especially here with all the, well, a gap at every point on this side. Yeah, I think you just have to make the right decisions at those junctions, and then apart from those moves, I think it's sort of hard to go wrong as long as you keep realizing where you've been or remembering where you've been, and then trying to progress from there. But very happy with that one. A level 5 puzzle done in a decent time, a very, very quick time, to be honest. So that is it. We've disassembled it, we've reassembled it. Now time to place it on the leaderboard. So there we go. We managed to solve the duet puzzle relatively quickly as well. What, 20 minutes to take it apart, 6 minutes to put it back together, which is, for a level 5 puzzle, is extremely quick. Now, as I said at the end of solving that, I can't help but think I might have been a bit lucky in that I happened, in the first 2 ways of coming back together, I happened to get the right 2 combinations of moves to get them back into that original position, if that makes sense. So because both pieces came off in the same place, in the same thing. There had to be sort of a routine to maybe like a halfway point, and then at that point there's then 2 ways back to the start position, and it's those 2 ways back in that where you end up with those rings sort of in the right orientation facing each other. Whereas if you'd have gone down the same route twice, then you wouldn't have 2 pieces facing each other, you'd have 2 pieces sort of facing the same way and not connecting. So I feel like I might have been a little bit lucky in getting to that position from both ways first time. But at the same time, it was all that if I figured that out right, then I don't think there's any other way of it being that way. So it's not luck. I sort of knew that it had to be a different way, even though I don't know the memorized way to each point yet. But yeah, so whether there's luck involved or not, I'm not quite sure. It's a very nice puzzle. As I said, as we started disassembling it, it's quite similar to a few that we've solved recently. The box puzzle for one, and then the ABC puzzle as well. And it's also quite similar to the Levy puzzle in that you are, in a sense, solving 2 mazes at the same time with a few slight differences. Now, where is the duet gonna end up on our leaderboard? Hardest, easiest, everything in between. I haven't thought about this already. I just mentioned the Levy puzzle, which is this one in here. And it is similar in that you are going through mazes on opposite sides. And it is a little bit different because you are not simultaneously solving both mazes at the same time. You're sort of going from one, swapping to the other. But at the same time, you've then got to do it twice with the duet puzzle, and you've got to do it in a different way with each one. So for that reason, we are going to sit above the Levy puzzle. And for the reason that I quote quite a lot, I knew when I started this puzzle how it was going to solve. From looking at the shape of the rings, from looking at the indentations, the grooves on the actual big maze piece, I knew it was, it was just fairly obvious how it was going to solve. Compare that with the elk puzzle, going into the elk puzzle, and for 90% of the time with the elk puzzle, I had no idea how it was going to solve. So for me, the elk puzzle was harder, much harder, because I just didn't know how it was going to work. The duet was almost like a trial and error basis because I knew where the end point was. So for that reason, we're not going to be going above the elk puzzle, and we're also going to stay above the square puzzle, which isn't one of my favorites, to be honest. I'm not a huge fan of the square. Sort of solved it by accident, if you like. Yes, I didn't know how it solved going into it, and I wasn't aware of how it was going to solve during it. But for me, it's too easy to solve the square puzzle by accident, which is what I did. And for that reason, the duet puzzle is going to sit between the square and the elk in something like 20th position. I'm never sure which. I'm not sure what position that is. I always miscount how many we've done. I think in the last video I said, we've done 44 puzzles, but the duet is actually the 44th puzzle that we've done. But anyway, we are going to sit here, whatever number that is. '21st position, that's what place it is, providing I've counted them right. So there we go, that is the duet puzzle done. We've disassembled it, we've reassembled it, we've placed it on the leaderboard. Job done. Now thank you very much for being here. If you want to see me solve any of these other Hanayama puzzles and then the step-by-step solutions to each and every one of them, then be sure to click my face here to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Peace.